And welcome back to the Hyperspace podcast. My name is Sam, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Michael Ghosh. Michael, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and today we're back with a different kind of episode. So this episode we're switching it up. We're gonna pitch to Michael is gonna pitch to me. I am today a Disney CEO, and Michael is gonna be pitching a show idea that he's come up with that he's been pushing for a while. He's a massive fan of Hondo and Lando, and he wants to pitch us his idea today. And basically, I'm going to be, as I said, the Disney CEO and give my verdict to the end. But we also will want you to give your verdict in the comments at the end. But yeah, let's get started with the pitch, Michael. So, first of all, what is the main premise of the show?
All right, I'm gonna sum it up as succinctly as I can. Pirate, smuggler, comedy show. That's the general premise. We got Lando and we got Hondo, two smooth talking criminal types, entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, that's the term they like, sort of wheeling dealing around the galaxy. And I think that's the show we all want to see. We want to see Lando and Hondo dealing with the best of them, maybe selling some weapons, selling some medicine, stealing stuff, just general misadventures with those two. I think would be the sort of show that will take Star Wars in a different direction, a direction Star Wars has not been in yet. The sort of direction that Star Wars needs. It's the sort of thing Marvel had with Guardians of the Galaxy, where they had this more humorous, wacky kind of adventure style show, and that is what I am pitching to you today, Sam.
Wow, that sounds interesting. When is the show going to be set?
Well, there's several possibilities depending on how the current Lando show is going to be set. So one option for this pitch is that it is set as a sequel season, because everyone's going to want to see Lando, because Lando is criminally underused in Star Wars and we'll want to see more from him, so it's likely he'll get a second season. And as many of the Disney projects have already been in the works, have already confirmed second seasons, unless they're limited run miniseries like Obi-Wan is not going to get a second season. At least I don't think it will. The other option, if the Lando show is set in the Rebels era, between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, whether or not that's going to be after Solo doesn't really matter. The other option is we could do this in the Mandalorian TV show era, and it could fit into this TV universe Disney have ambitiously started creating, and it would give possibilities for characters such as Ahsoka, who've somewhat had dealings with Hondo in the past, to reminisce about the good times in the Clone Wars. And it would lead to a lot of interesting character interaction, because Boba Fett is having his own TV show and he's in that criminal underworld, and you have the possibilities for Hondo and Lando to be somewhat dealing with Boba Fett as he's now taken over the Hutt Empire. And we've also got Darth Maul. Darth Maul could be involved because he's running the Crimson Dawn, and we haven't been able to see too much of him in the era before, the era after he's died, how he's impacted the Crimson Dawn and whether they kept going after he's died in Rebels. And if it was a series before Rebels, then there's even more possibility of having him in it. But if not, you would still be able to show the influence of having Darth Maul assemble this crime syndicate and how it's affected the criminal underworld.
Yeah. You mentioned comedy earlier. What genre will this show be? Will it just be concentrated on a comedy genre?
I think because of the lifestyle choices of Lando and Hondo, sort of being these wheeler dealer sort of criminal businessmen types, it'll be somewhere between at least a comedy and an action adventure. But I think because it's able to deal with the criminal underworld, it will be able to have a more serious tone as well. So similarly to how the Mandalorian had comic moments, but in a larger scale, where it's able to do the not quite the extremes, but is able to do very funny moments, but then is able to also do the stuff the Mandalorian did, which is look at the darker aspects of the Jedi Purge, or in the case of the Lando Hondo show I'm pitching, you could look at how the fall of Mandalore impacted the criminal organizations or something. If they want to link it into the Mandalorian, or how the Crimson Dawn have been going around their business and how this has negatively impacted people's lives, and they'll have to kind of deal with this because they're probably going to be trading with them, or they may also, because they may, I feel like they are criminals, but they also are kind of good. At least Lando is. Hondo is somewhere in between. At least I think in Rebels he slides to become more good. I think it's able to do both. I'm not sure if it would fit into a genre. It probably, the closest genre is a Western again, like The Mandalorian, where you kind of have these two guys going around on adventures, and there would be, gunfights, heist, kidnapping, the lot. They'd be able to do the same things the Mandalorian does, but the comedy would be more, and I guess the criminal bit would be also more.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we already have a Lando show in the works. So how is your show going to set itself apart from the other show that we are developing?
Well, the Lando show again, the details haven't been confirmed, but I'd imagine it's going to be more of a character study rather than, the sort of show I'm pitching. It's going to be more an origin story, something that's either going to lead up to Solo or follow after Solo. Again, we don't actually know, but if not, I think it's unlikely it's going to be in this Mandalorian era, in which case fitting it into the Mandalorian era would allow the Lando show to lead on to this Lando Hondo show.
Sure. Who are gonna play the main characters? Of course, normally it's Billy D. Williams as the iconic Lando, and Jim Cummings normally plays Hondo. But who do you have playing these characters?
Again, I think Billy D. Williams would be perfect if we do it in that period, because he may need to be de-aged, yes, but I think it's very much possible he could do it. I think, again, we saw with Mark Hamill, they didn't even need to have him be de-aged. Imagine if they'd actually done that on Mark Hamill. Yes, it's going to cost money, but I think it's a very much a possibility, and it's not like Billy D. Williams will have that big a gap in age. It would be similar to Mark Hamill and that, but it's not. I think it's in the realm of possibilities that Billy D. Williams could do it. Again, there's obviously Donald Glover is the other option for doing it, although I wonder if he could play a more mature Lando who's sort of gone through the experience of the Galactic Civil War, and who's experienced a rebellion. He's been friends with Han Solo from, like, his old friends, not just fresh friends. It's whether or not he could do that would be my question. So I think Billy D. Williams is the obvious choice, despite the age being a problem. Now, Jim Cummings, I think he could probably do it in makeup as well for Hondo. He'd have the right voice, and I'm sure they could do it. I don't think it would be that far out. Although I do have another suggestion for a casting if you wanted more star power. The other option, I think, the obvious option for a pirate in space is Johnny Depp. He's the obvious choice, and I think even the look is based. It must have been based on Johnny Depp, and I think could he play this character? Yes. Is he going to have the voice the right way? No, he'll do his own thing on how he wants to characterize the character, which is why I think Jim Cummings may be the better option. But I think either way it could work out. But yeah, I don't see why Jim Cummings couldn't do it again. We saw what happened with Ray Parks and Sam Witwer, where he's the body and then the other actor is the voice. Again, another possibility for not for necessarily Johnny Depp, but a different actor could, a stuntman or something could play the body, and then the voice would be Jim Cummings. So I think there's a few options. Yes, it's much harder to cast a character who's coming from voice acting into live action, although I think Jim Cummings would work fine.
Sure, yeah. By the way you're talking about it, it sounds like you want this to be live action. Is that where you want to go with it instead of possibly an animation route?
I think this would be, I think, especially with Disney, they don't want to do an animation show for a slightly older audience. I think if this is going to deal with the criminal underworld, this is going to have to be a live action show. I think also the technology with the live action, with the vision, has got so much better, and now the technology exists, the show would be a lot cheaper to do than it would have been previously. And the possibility of doing it on so many different locations is now available. So it wouldn't be like if he wanted to do a new planet every week or every episode, that is, it'd be the same as The Mandalorian. They just go and change how the vision looks, and they go and change some of the props and the inside of it, but they don't have to go travel to Tunisia to get a desert or, other places if they want a specific location. Yeah, I think live action would suit the show better and the tone of the show. Although it's a comedy, I think it can deal with this criminal underworld thing, which I think the animation, they don't want to do that with it. It's not that I don't think. I think animation would be a good way to go with the show. It's just I don't think Disney would want to do it as a animated show. Although I guess once Bad Batch is finished, we're going to have space for another animated show. And we haven't heard anything about this Rebels sequel show. And the longer it goes on, the more we just are going to assume it's Ahsoka. Or as we discussed before, maybe it's a mixture of 2 or 3 shows converging onto Grand Admiral Thrawn, in which case there's that spot for animation. So maybe that is a good way to go with it. Although, again, it depends on which direction Disney wants to take it and whether they'd be willing to do the darker things the Clone Wars was able to do with the criminal underworld and the black market and stuff.
Yeah. How many episodes are they going to be, and how long is each episode going to be?
Again, this is another one where it depends on if this was live action or animated. I guess if it was animated, I'd assume they would do 22 episodes or something, or a larger amount, and the episodes would form arcs, and the arcs would be 3-4 episodes. So maybe you get 5-6 arcs, and maybe it's it is the 20 episodes or something. You get 4 or 5 arcs or something over the 20 episodes or so. If it was live action, again, maybe more so like The Mandalorian, where there was standalone stuff for the 45-50 minute mark, and then there's 6 episodes, maybe somewhere around 6 episodes would also work. So that's the other thing with the live action, there'd be less of it, I'd imagine, but it's still be able to do similar things maybe. But again, depends on what direction Disney would like to take this pitch. But I think those are the 2 good options.
Sure. Could you give me a rundown, just so I can picture it in my head, how each episode's going to be structured? What are they going to do in each episode? Could you give me an idea of that, please?
Well, I'll give you sort of an example of a plot line then. So maybe, so there'd obviously be some sort of meeting of Lando and Hondo, and they would, for some reason, enter some sort of business deal together, smuggling something or likely stealing something. If this is in the Mandalorian era, they could be stealing something from the remnant, the Imperial remnant. maybe something as ambitious as what the Mandalorians did, which was steal an entire freighter or something, or try and get something of that size. We're talking, something very, very ambitious, and inevitably, because it's Lando and Hondo, someone would mess up, or something completely unexpected would happen, and I guess the general framing of an episode would be that they get set up for a job, they do this job, and then there's the resolution of whatever this job was, and it leads on to something else. Again, like the Mandalorian, it would need something to tie these episodes together rather than it just being sort of these one-off adventures. So maybe there is some, maybe there is something a bit deeper, whether it's Lando trying to refinance Cloud City or something. They have some sort of motivation, but again, depends on what direction Disney would want to take this and how they want to do it. But I'd imagine similar episode structure to the Mandalorian, in that he goes to these locations, he's told some information that leads him to another part of the plot where he has to do something in order to get more information or get some sort of resource to go further, which is a bit formulaic, but that's the sort of way I imagine it may pan out. Although, again, Lando may be working for the New Republic, and maybe it will go into this plot of trying to remove the Imperial remnant, and they sort of do it that way. There's a few options for how the show could pan out and how they'd want to do the episodes, but I think it'd be something similar to the Mandalorian, where there's sort of this there's this clear goal of what they want to do, but like in the Mandalorian, it never goes quite the way he wants it to go, because the Mandalorian is always way in over his head. And I think if you've seen enough of Lando and Hondo doing stuff, you know that he's always weighing over his head. Like, especially the episode where he gets Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku in a prison cell, and he thinks that's going to pan out for him.
Yeah. No, that was naive from him. But
that's why we love him, though.
Yeah. Oh, he is a favorite of the Star Wars fan base. Last of all, who is your show's audience?
I think if we're talking about age, we're talking about the audience. The audience is probably likely the same people who watch the Clone Wars. Tonally, it'd be, maybe a bit, there'd be a few more comic elements, but it would be able to do these darker themes without being depressing. If that makes sense. So he'd be able to tackle, what it could do slavery again, slavery after the Empire. He'd be able to tackle that, and things maybe the Mandalorian is also tackling. But I think the audience would be the same audience who are watching the Mandalorian as well. It's a sort of show that probably is more with the hardcore fan base, though, rather than the Mandalorian, which has the appeal of Baby Yoda and a man in a metal suit. I think this is maybe more so for the core fans who are wanting more of these two very well loved, but again, unexplored characters. But again, there's, like the Mandalorian, there is no reason why it couldn't draw in a new audience of people who want to see this sort of either grittier but funnier take on Star Wars. Something, I guess, not quite as funny or the same sort of thing, but a similar style to like Rush Hour. This sort of like two buddy guys who kind of hate each other doing something they're nowhere near qualified to do. It's that kind of thing. I think it has a wide appeal, but getting it to this wide appeal may be the issue, because it hasn't got this instant appeal of, oh yeah, Baby Yoda. I think the Mandalorian benefited off something like that. So maybe we make some other cute creature to sell merchandise for this show, and we make it the center of the plot. Maybe we bring back Rot of the Hutt or something. I don't know. That's a joke. Let's never bring Rot of the Hutt back.
Oh no, Rossa the Hutt is cute. I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe we bring back Wicket. Wicket is a sidekick, because or we bring back Melch, the Hondo's Ognaut friend from Rebels. We only saw him get shot, and yes, it looked like he died. But it's Star Wars. It's fine. They can fix that up. They put him in a back tank, and he's fine.
Yeah, a lot of people in Star Wars have come from a lot worse.
Darth Maul.
Exactly. I could name many people: Palpatine,
Vader,
Echo,
Vader.
yeah.
He barely has anything left.
Exactly. So we see people recover from that. But yeah, thank you. That's all my questions, Michael. Thank you
Thank you for the questions.
For your excellent pitch. Now I think it's time for me to give my verdict. So my thoughts are, I think it would work best for animation. I think it would just be easier. It means you could have Billy D. Williams and Jim Cummings a lot easier without them having to
No, it's a good point.
de-aged or having to have like a lot of work done, which costs a lot of money. It's, Disney. We have a lot, but we don't want to spend more than we have to. In my opinion, I don't think it should be canon. I think it would open. I think that would allow it to open up to more stuff they could do, and I could picture it as like a road trip around the universe with two iconic Star Wars characters. Everyone loves them, and it's more of a comedy. They go around and like the Millennium Falcon doing or a different ship doing things that mischievous stuff, getting into trouble, and it not being canon could introduce different characters without disrupting the timeline too much. And I think the fans would 100% get behind it, and that is my verdict on your pitch. Any last words?
I think it could work as canon, but you may be right. It probably would be more interesting if they were just told you get to do whatever you want to do. Yeah, I think there's enough. I think there's just enough room for them to do whatever they want with those characters in canon. But yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. And the animation is definitely probably the way to go for those two actors. Yeah, and especially as the Bad Batch is gonna finish up and there's no other animation going on.
Exactly my thinking. But yeah, that wraps up our episode. Thank you for watching, guys. This was new content. We really hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought in the comments. Let us know if you were Disney, would you approve this show? What other shows would you like to have that's just off the top of your head? What would you like to see? Let us know down in the comments. But yeah, thank you, Michael, for your excellent pitch.
Thank you. And if you are Disney, our contact details are in the YouTube description, and you can otherwise DM us on Instagram.
Yeah. So if you are Disney, let us know how much you want to pay us to.
We're available to be hired.
Exactly.
And we're extremely cheap.
We are very cheap, and let's make it happen. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And as always, may the force be with you.